All right, well, let's take a look at what's going on in Cloudcroft, where we have a few clouds bubbling up, and we actually get a couple of showers going across the Sacramento mountains. You can see that if you look down at the pavement, you can see the roads get a little bit wet, and then they quickly dry out. So we have a few passing showers over the Sacramento mountains right now, and we will be looking at the shower activity expand across the east later on today. Right now, it's mainly confined to the higher terrain across the Sacramento mountains into the Sandias and Mazanos, trying to get a couple of showers going. And we're also trying to get a couple of showers going across the far southern portions of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. The east will be the area favored for the shower activity once again this afternoon, as we are looking at elevated moisture in the eastern part of the state. Meanwhile, central and western portions of the state will remain mainly dry this afternoon. 83 currently in the Albuquerque metro area, variable wind at 3 miles per hour. Temperatures across the north mainly in the 70s, although we're already into the low 80s from Grants over to Albuquerque and Tucumcari and Clayton as well. Down to the south, mainly the 80s here. We're at 84 in TRC. Same for Deming and Silver City, 83 in Roswell and 81 currently in Carlsbad. As we take a look at the winds, once again, good news on that front, especially across the western part of the state where we continue to deal with the fires there, not dealing with extremely high winds. The higher winds are mainly across the eastern portion of the state, where we're at a 31-mile-per-hour wind gust in Clayton, 23 for Tucumcari and Clovis, 18 in Roswell and 17 in Carlsbad. We will continue to deal with some gusty winds, especially as we start to see some thunderstorms develop across the east. If you get underneath one of those storms, you may deal with a little bit of gusty winds with that. As we spread the picture out, shower activity very bleak right now, mainly across the higher terrain, but again, we will see that activity expand across the eastern portion of the state this afternoon. Temperatures will be warming up very nicely as well, and we'll continue that warm up into the weekend with afternoon highs reaching about 5 to 6 or 7 degrees above average for this time of the year. We'll continue with the spot storm chances across the east through the weekend, but it's not until early next week that we really start to see better chances at showers, more widespread rain across the eastern part of the state, and we'll try to get a couple of those thunderstorms going across central sections as well, while the west continues to remain mainly dry into at least early next week. Here's a look at your forecast for southern Colorado, where highs today will reach the mid to upper 80s with lots of sunshine. We continue with the upper 80s with dry conditions through the weekend, and then perhaps better chances at picking up a few spot storms toward the middle of next week. Over the northwest, mostly sunny. We'll continue to deal with those hazy conditions, especially if you're in the path of that smoke plume from the fires across the far western portions of the state. We'll see highs today into the upper 80s to low 90s, mid 90s through the weekend, and that continues into early next week as well. Over the southwest, mix of sun and clouds. Highs today into the mid to upper 90s. We'll stay in the low to mid 90s in Silver City through the weekend. Perhaps a chance at a few spot storms over the weekend, but we'll have to watch out for some dry lightning with these storms. That will be a big concern, as there will not be as much moisture across the southwest as there will be across the southeast. Better chances of wetting rains here, especially into tomorrow and into the beginning of next week. Temperatures really warming up. We're back to the triple digits for Sunday before returning to the 90s early next week. Over the northeast, mix of sun and clouds. Scattered storms will be a good possibility throughout the afternoon, and that continues through the weekend and early next week as well. A really good setup here as we continue with the chance at some wetting rains, especially into the beginning of next week. Over the northern mountains, partly cloudy skies. Will continue with that storm development through the afternoon. We'll continue with a few storms over the weekend, and especially into next week, we could see a little bit more wetting rain through Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Over the east mountains, partly cloudy skies. Spot storms will be a possibility once again this afternoon, with highs in the mid to upper 80s in the metro. Low 90s this afternoon. It will continue to warm up through the weekend. Highs over the weekend into the mid 90s, which is about 5 degrees above where we should be for this time of the year. We've mainly staying dry through the weekend. It's not until early next week that we'll have the chance of getting a couple of storms going in the metro.
Okay, thank you, John.